Team, and welcome to episode 32 of Creative English 2025. How about we shake things up? Team, the GringOlympics are fast on their way, and today we will be continuing with round two. And actually, this was amazing. The correctly named, no skill, just luck. I don't know about correctly. We will see, I guess. But they were able to get a perfect score. They got unique answers for everything in categories except for the one answer that was worth 11 points. So this was actually really impressive. So they are in the lead. And because it's not just all fun and games, we will be talking about 5 different uses for the word how. Besides this, a couple different people send me a video, a Brazilian video, it's in Portuguese, about with one boss and 30 fired people. And thought it was an interesting format. There is a lot to improve, a lot of things I think would be better for the video, for us, the viewer, but it got people talking. So I did bring this to class. So let's take a look. Nope, I've never talked about getting fired. I've helped so many people with the hiring process, getting jobs. I don't think I've ever talked about getting fired. You know, it's a touchy subject. So usually we avoid it. But this week we did bring it up, and I heard some interesting stories. I heard some interesting, what do I mean by interesting? New to me, because I really don't work in a company. If I fired myself, I would be unemployed. But I heard well thought ways of how the firing process should go. So I thought that was pretty cool. So talking about how. Number one, let's say this is 100%, 50% rule. If it starts with how, the sentence, it's a question. Now, if it starts with how plus an auxiliary verb, how do, how can, how will, how should, how may, how have, how is, how are, all of these, it's guaranteed that you're asking a question about the manner, or I guess condition. How are you? How are you doing? So there's no real trick to this. It's just like a WH word, how plus auxiliary. And how are you does not count for this exercise. So give me another question, simple question, starting with how. That's 50%. Now, another 40% is this, how plus an adjective, or less common, but still just as true, an adverb. And in this case, imagine this is a rule. You have a scale, your height. How tall are you? This is your age. How old are you? We have the literal quantities, how much and how many. But we can use an adverb. How quickly can you finish the report? So all of these, how plus adjective or adverb, before the can, the is, the do, the have, you're asking for an amount of that adjective. Again, no tricks to this. So those are the basic ones, the ones we usually learn in English school before you guys end up here with the Gringo Minute. But now we get to the interesting ones. Number 3, how about? How about an expression? Kind of differs from the rules. You'll notice that there is no auxiliary. I guess about is the auxiliary in this case. About is not actually an auxiliary verb. But when we say how about, you can include if. How about if we stay home? How about if we meet at some? You are giving your preference, but turning it into a question. You're saying the responsibility to say no is yours. And this is a communication jujitsu move, where you kind of saying, I want this. If I say, how about we stay home today? I know you want to stay home. How about we meet at 7? 7's the best time for you. So when we do this, we are sending the responsibility to the other person. Also, it can be used for cheap small talk, like, how about the game yesterday? How about work? How about the weather? So it's like really weak, like B-level small talk, very, very low. Next up, how come? And this one I use a lot with my students. So sometimes we don't like being asked why. I know if you're practicing English, you are aware that I'm going to be asking questions, or whoever your study buddy is. Cool. But naturally, we kind of get defensive when somebody says why. Did you go to the gym? No, why? But because I don't have time. Why are you asking me? Yeah. But if you say, how come, it sounds like you're curious and kind of removes that defensive aspect. So I like to use it as a follow-up question. Here I just gave some regular examples. Again, It doesn't really follow the rules of a traditional question. There's no auxiliary. But oh, how come you didn't call me? How come there's no coffee left? Me, I'll usually use it as a secondary, a follow-up question. How are you? I'm all right. Yeah, how come? So just to get my students to talk more, it works. Trust me. Number 5, and this is the real reason for this topic. I had a couple of students who were making this mistake. And remember, English works with signals. Why am I mentioning this? If you start a sentence with how, it's a question. Except in Portuguese, we can use como to start an explanation. And in this case, I guess you could use as, but the most common way would be since. So if you're explaining the why, since I didn't prepare, since it's raining, I'm not going to play soccer. Let me see. Since we didn't watch the first one, let's not watch the second movie. So whenever you are giving an explanation that you might want to, for my Brazilians, you might want to start with how. Remember, you can't unless it's a question. All right. Now, team, I brought some different ways to say that you got fired, or somebody, not you, of course not you, somebody else got fired. We have the traditional HR terminology, was terminated, was dismissed. I know terminated sounds strong, hasta la vista, but I think it might be the most normal way to say it. Somebody was let go or lost their job. It's kind of neutral in the middle. Now let's get to the colorful ones. Somebody got the axe. Somebody was shown the door. Somebody, this is Sparta style, was given the boot. I guess you could use this for relationship too. Got canned, a little bit more American. Got sacked, a little bit more British. And for the WWE fans out there, somebody was future endeavored, when we wish you the best in your future endeavors. So that would be number 10. So depending on if it's somebody you like at work or somebody you don't, pick the correct phrase. Team, we talked about getting fired, and I think this expression of the week is definitely relevant. You never know how life might spin you around. So it's important not to burn your bridges. When we burn our bridges is when you leave or you quit something in a negative way, with a bad relationship. So you might say, don't burn your bridges would be some good advice. But when you burn your bridge, it's when you leave somewhere, and there's no chance to fix that. And our game this week, Boggle. Team, here is the daily puzzle. Each day they give you a new one. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to practice your English. Now, we played with some different rules this week. It's not really important, but we played with 3 minutes and the best chance counted. But it was really cool. I really liked it. And last up, this, I'm not going to start, because if I start, then I can't go back. It's like the hotels that are like 35-star hotels. But I will say this is a 5-star plus recommendation. Wow. It will change the way you see stories. When I say stories, I mean movies, series, books, and incredible. I watched a movie, a really good, famous movie that I had never seen with Patrice. I watched the first scene. I was like, this is how it's going to end. She's like, what are you talking about? How do you know that? I say, the guy from the podcast told me, and he was absolutely right. So that might be the one possibly negative point. You might enjoy some movies less because you know how they work. So that's the one thing you should be careful about. But if you do like storytelling, this one is gold. It's podcast gold. All right, team, that's it. Like always, thank you, and I hope to see you in class. Have a good one.